We've got newly obtained footage of UFOs. Tic Tac UFOs are back. Shocking new clip shows one stunning U.S. Navy sailor that are rising from the ocean. Take a look at this. Strange object. How come the camera is always so grainy, you know? All I see is a weird black dot.
You call it the DVSS team. Yeah, like 22,000 feet.
20,000 feet.
That's
crazy. For those that are just listening, it's just a weird video of a black splotch on the screen moving around. And they say 2 eerie UFOs have been caught on a U.S. naval camera emerging from the ocean after taking off in a synchronized flight off the coast of Southern California. The objects were recorded by stunned sailors who said they spotted 4 UFOs in total during the incident aboard the USS Jackson. Newly obtained footage shows the moment 2 of the UFOs emerged from the ocean during the incident in February of 2023. Yo, this is crazy. Their shape appeared strikingly similar to a 2004 sighting of a Tic Tac shaped UFO in the same waters, which was previously investigated by a top secret government program. All we witnessed was all 4 of them, one of the sailors told News 8 Now. All in synchronous, jetting into the abyss, all 4, all timed together and left. And we were like, holy sh. The second they left, maybe 3 or 4 seconds pass. I run to my station, I look at my radar, they're all off radar. That's it, they all zoomed off. But it's clear that they're in communication with one another and synchronized like 3, 2, 1 countdown, let's all go. I think unless there's some level of like one entity controlling all 4, and then they all leave at the same time. Wild, dude. Former Defense Department analyst Merrick von Rennenkampf analyzed flight data from the time and location of the sighting and concluded there were no U.S. aircraft in the area. I don't think it's ours. I suspect there are better places for us to showcase that kind of equipment to unwitting sailors. That just doesn't make sense. The incident echoes the famous Nimitz incident 2 decades prior when Navy pilots saw 2 UFOs flying at incredible speeds in the same area. All right, now check this out. Ian has brought up talking plasma, this technique for creating 3-dimensional holograms. Some have speculated these UFOs are actually psychological weapons used by foreign governments or even tested by our own government to create the perception of a military vehicle. Now check it out. You take a laser and you point it at the wall. When it hits the wall, you can see the dot on the wall, but you can't see anything in between the laser. What happens when you cross 2 lasers? The 2 beams refract, and that point where they refract, you will see a dot. You will see the light from the beams. Now, for most people, they see 2 laser pointers crossing and they see the refraction and they go, whatever, right? When the 2 beams hit, you can see it. Now, what they'll do is you add a 3rd laser and you now have 3 dimensions. With 2 lasers, you can move them back and forth, left and right, and the dot will move in the air. But you can see those lasers. You do 3. And now you've got a 3-dimensional object zipping around in every direction. What if they did 300? They could theoretically project using lasers and having them refract on each other, cross over all these beams. They could create an image in 3-dimensional space, a hologram that could move around, and you would think you're seeing an object and you're not. There's only one problem. These sailors saw it come out of the water. And if it came out of the water, likely they saw the water move. Maybe the projection holographic system points at the water, so it simulates, it creates this, what appears to be water coming up as the objects go up. The reason that people have argued this is because the way they move simulate the speed of light. If you've got 2 lasers and they move slowly, it's an exponential increase in how fast the object is moving, appearing to move as fast as it can't stop. And I'm having no mass, no inertia. Technically, that's the case. But we don't know for sure. Now, the one thing I can say is military technology is probably so far beyond what you think. Whenever we get these stories where it's like the U.S. is showing off the new stealth bomber or whatever, it's like BS. That thing's probably 30 years old or older. There's no way they are showing off their weapons. Like, The U.S. shows off new weapons just so that our adversaries, China, for instance, or maybe Russia, are like, look at what they've got. We don't want to go up against that. But in reality, everybody knows there's something else going on. Some of these UFO stories, one of them was like 70 miles away from a weapons testing facility. And they actually reported like a UFO was spotted some 70 miles from this base where they test exotic weapons. And I was like, okay, you've just explained it. They go on to say, Top Gun fighter pilot David Fravor was flying a training exercise off the coast of San Diego when he was rerouted to investigate a strange object spotted on radar by warships protecting his aircraft carrier, the USS Nimitz. What he found was a roughly 40-foot white object with no windows or wings, shaped like a Tic Tac, flitting about above the sea. Oh, is that what they're saying? That was roiling below it, disturbed by something large submerged beneath the surface. Commander Fravor told Congress in 2023 that as he circled the object, it turned to mirror his movements, then shot off past him at thousands of miles per hour, somehow stopping a second later at a secret pre-designated rendezvous point 60 miles away that only he and a handful of Navy staff on his ship were given out of their training exercise. So there was this story that I covered last week. Let me see if I want to pull this one up. This is the alien revenge attack on the Russians. And here we go. Unilad Tech, bone-chilling declassified CIA document, reveals alien massacre that turned entire military unit to stone. All right. Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm thinking. You've got this story about a Tic Tac, about these objects. In this bone-chilling story, they say that aliens fused together and created a sphere which emitted a pulse and turned everybody to stone. The technologies that we would experience, we may not even properly perceive or conceive of. We like to think of things in our worldview. Kinetic conflict, not directed energy weapons. So what have we done? Over time, humans have perfected throwing rocks at each other. It all started when Ugg picked up a rock and said, this guy is a threat to me, and he threw the rock. Actually, he probably hit him with the rock. And then he was like, wow, killed him. And thus began war. The next day, some guy showed up and he was like, he's running towards me with the rock. I know what he's going to do. So he threw the rock and the rock hit the guy and he goes, wow, throwing it works. Then eventually someone said, what if I put it in a sling and throw it? Then somebody said, bow and arrow. Let's make the rock pointy. And so on and so forth, catapulting and better ways of throwing rocks at people. Today, we have isolated dense materials, lead, and we put a propellant behind them to fling a rock at 3,500 feet per second to vaporize. That is our most effective means of warfare. What if, as we perceive of this technology, the aliens that we encounter, should they be aliens, perceive of technology in ways we have not conceived of or developed technologies? That is, when they say that, they say in this story that the aliens... Where the aliens combined into one. What if these aliens, or whatever beings they are, develop technology where they can transmute matter as they see fit? That would mean they could form one singular machine from themselves, and they could emit a blast that would turn you to stone. They could transmute you into a different object, into a different matter form. Why wouldn't the technology exist for such a thing? Certainly someone could figure it out somehow. I don't know. But if that were the case, the beings themselves would be the ships. The beings themselves could transform themselves. What if this is a mastery of nanotechnology where they can structure their bodies in any meaningful way? Take a look at AI, right? How AI basically has a summation of human knowledge, and it can approximate, they're talking about with medical tech. They can take your blood, put it in a machine. It'll scan your blood levels and then craft for you a tailor-made bespoke medication to make you live longer. Imagine if you had that capability of computation and your body knew exactly how to rearrange every cell or nanomachine or whatever into whatever it needed to do to accomplish what it wanted. The technology, I believe, is possible. Maybe not, I don't know. But these stories are crazy. We don't know what these Tic Tacs are. Maybe the stories are all lies. Maybe they're just trying to rile y'all up, get some clicks. Maybe these stories are to terrify our enemies, to make them think there's something else out there. And when the aliens crash and the U.S. gets their technology, the lie is that we have technology they will not even conceive of. I don't know, man, but I love this stuff. Stick around. I think we got one more coming up for you on this beautiful Friday. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all shortly.